aiming to connect a region of over 600 natural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila in Vietnam. Hello, Eliana.
Hi, Alma. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, giving you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines.
Few days from now.
President Duterte thanked U.S. President Joe Biden and the American people for donating COVID-19 vaccines to the Philippines.
The United States said Monday that Myanmar's junta was playing for time with a two-year election timeframe as Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepared to encourage ASEAN to appoint an envoy.
Germany dispatched a frigate to the Indo-Pacific region for the first time in almost 20 years, a move that could put strain on Berlin's delicate relationship with Beijing.
Carlos Yulo came tantalizingly close to a medal when he placed fourth in the men's vault finals, following a total score of 14.716 in the Summer Olympic Games at the Ariake Gymnastics Center here on Monday.
First, here in the country, President Duterte on Monday thanked U.S. President Joe Biden and the American people for donating COVID-19 vaccines to the Philippines. The president made the remark as he is set to personally welcome the arrival of 3 million doses of Moderna donated by the U.S. government today. Take a look.
A few days from now, I'm going to go to the airport because the United States donated the 3 million. Kaya, give and take lang tayo. So, pasalamat tayo sa kanila at may ibigay naman may naibigay na naman ako sa kanila na konsesyon. I consider the continuance of 2D continuance of the Visiting Forces Agreement. I'd like to thank President of the United States, Biden, the government and the people of America for not forgetting us.
The Philippines has so far received 34,275,740 doses of COVID vaccines and administered a total of 20,863,544 doses. Last month, the U.S. donated a total of 3,240,851 shot Johnson & Johnson vaccines to the Philippines through COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access or COVAX facility, a global initiative to support equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. The U.S. government has donated at least 13.2 million COVID vaccines to the Philippines, including 10 million doses through COVAX facility, according to the records from the U.S. Embassy in Manila.
Malacanang said national interest in the United States COVID-19 vaccine donation likely have factored in President Rodrigo Duterte's decision to keep the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made this comment when asked if the U.S. donated vaccines may have pushed Duterte to retract the abrogation of VFA following his meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III at Malacanang Palace in Manila on July 29. Let's take a look.
Hindi naman po, no? Talaga namang kung gugustuhin ni Presidente, talagang pinatuloy na niya yung termination ng VFA. Pero nakailang beses siya na extension ng termination at siguro po yung mga totality ng mga pangyayari recently at saka yung thorough assessment of what constitutes the national interest prompted him to withdraw his earlier termination. Consider the totality of circumstances. There's a good reason, there's a good possibility po that was also part of the equation.
The VFA is a 1998 military deal signed by Manila and Washington, which allows American troops to join military drills in the Philippines, hence the need to secure a passport and visa. On the other hand, the 1951 MDT, the country's sole and longest-running defense pact with another nation, aims to step up the defense and security cooperation between Philippine and U.S. troops. Duterte ordered the VFA's revocation in February 2020. The military pact was supposed to be officially scrapped in August last year, but its termination was suspended for 3 6-month periods. The latest was in June this year when Duterte decided anew to extend the VFA's validity for 6 more months.
There will be longer curfew hours and stricter border control across the National Capital Region for the duration of the 2-week Enhanced Community Quarantine, or ECQ, beginning August 6. That according to Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chair Benjamin Benhar-Abalos on Monday. Let's listen in.
I think he's now imposing certain controls outside of Metro. Pero pagdating po ng asais ng ECQ, ito pong border controls natin ay within NCR na po.
Now, he also said the Metro Manila Council, or MMC, composed of the 17 mayors in NCR, have unanimously agreed to extend curfew hours in the region during ECQ period, the present 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Abalos said while the curfew hours will be uniform across the region, each local government unit will decide whether to ban liquor within their jurisdiction to ensure the public's access to essential goods and continued service of health workers and other essential personnel. He said quarantine passes will again be issued to eligible persons by their respective LGUs.
Premier Hun Sen said Cambodia will begin administering booster shots to adults who are fully vaccinated. This will take a page out of neighboring Thailand's book by mixing vaccines. In line with this policy, the premier, who has already received 2 doses of the AstraZeneca jab, said he wants to receive a booster shot of Sinovac. Cambodia has some of the region's weakest healthcare infrastructure and is ill-equipped to deal with a major outbreak of COVID. Cambodia began a rollout of COVID-19 vaccinations for teenagers in its capital Phnom Penh and 3 provinces Sunday, with Premier Hun Sen's grandchildren among the first to get the jab. Several countries in Southeast Asia are currently experiencing a deadly COVID-19 resurgence, largely driven by the highly contagious Delta variant, which has set back the region's successes last year in curbing pandemic tolls. On Thursday, it imposed fresh restrictions on 8 provinces bordering Thailand, which has seen a skyrocketing cases and deaths due to the Delta variant. Cambodian migrant workers in Thailand have also been barred from returning home.
Back here in the Philippines, a total of 3,724 distressed Filipinos from the United Arab Emirates were repatriated through 9 government-funded flights since the pandemic started. That according to the Department of Foreign Affairs, reporting this today. The DFA said the 4 flights in July and 3 in June raised to 9 the total number of repatriation efforts for Filipinos in the Gulf state. The most recent was on July 31st, which sent home some 374 Filipinos, including 78 pregnant women. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Sara Lu Ariola said, "We recognize the efforts of the men and women in our posts overseas and at the Home Office as we see in the increased number of the total number of Filipinos repatriated in July. From 1,037 arrivals in June, the July figures reached 1,415, all of whom received $200 or an estimated 10,000 pesos as reintegration assistance from the department and have undergone the mandatory 14-day facility-based quarantine. The DFA chartered repatriation flights are all funded by its Assistance to Nationals Fund.
The Philippine National Police has ordered the National Capital Region Police Office to strictly implement the 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew in Metro Manila once the 2-week enhanced community quarantine takes effect on August 6. The strict border control and the longer curfew hours are but some of the necessary interventions to prevent the spread of the Delta variant of COVID-19. PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar said in a statement Tuesday. Eleazar said the imposition of longer curfew hours would help in preventing mass gatherings in the communities. He also directed police personnel to coordinate with barangay officials in enforcing the curfew. He added that policemen will also help enforce the liquor ban that will be implemented by some local government units in Metro Manila. Eleazar urged the public to strictly follow minimum public health safety standards and quarantine protocols to prevent the spread of the more infectious Delta variant. While understanding the quarantine burnout being experienced by the public, he added that the ECQ has been recommended by experts and so far proved effective in containing the spread of the virus.
All COVID-19 vaccinated passengers may avail of free rides around the Metro Manila or Metro Rail Transit Line or MRT-3, the Light Rail Transit Line 2, LRT-2, and the Philippine National Railway starting Tuesday until August 20, the end of the enhanced community quarantine in the National Capital Region. Now, Department of Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade gave the order to the 3 rail services to provide free rides to all authorized persons outside of residents who have received at least 1 dose of the COVID vaccine. He said the Philippine Sports Authority, the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, and the Manila International Airport Authority will give out free coffee, water, and snacks to all vaccinated passengers at seaports and airports. In addition, he also said the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange has also agreed to waive the terminal fees it charges to buses that use the land port. Earlier, Malacanang announced the imposition of an ECQ anew in the NCR from August 6 to August 20 to arrest the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant.
The first tranche of the 100 million vaccines committed by the United Kingdom to developing countries, including the Philippines, arrived on Monday afternoon. Vaccines Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., along with outgoing British Ambassador Daniel Cruz and Foreign Affairs Assistant Secretary Jaime Victorleda, welcomed the 415,040 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3. Overall, the Philippines has already received over 7 million AstraZeneca doses since the government vaccination program started in March 2021. In a media interview, Ambassador Cruz said the donation is a powerful illustration of how the UK and the Philippines are working together in the fight against COVID-19. He added that the commitment of the UK to deliver jabs to developing countries will be fulfilled by June 2022. On July 29, Ambassador Cruz paid a courtesy call on Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. to formally serve notice of the end of his 4-year post this month.
Staying in the country, an additional 240 intensive care unit beds in select hospitals in Metro Manila will be available this month as an uptick of COVID cases is observed nationwide. In an online media forum, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere said healthcare facilities have been increasing as early as March. She also said lockdowns are additional measures to prepare the healthcare system and keep it from being overwhelmed. Take a look.
May way back sa pagpa-prepare ng ating health system, especially our hospital facilities. We were able to already increase our ICU bed capacity by as much. No? Nag-umpisa na ho nung nakaraang July and August na itaas natin. Ito ulit nung March and April nakapagdagdag tayo. Ngayon po may additional po tayong tinitignan around 240 na mga additional ICU beds in select big hospitals in Metro Manila. Ito pong mga ito magbubukas at magiging operational this month. Meron din ho tayong pagdadagdag sa ibang lugar dito sa ating bansa. We were already able to add additional 314 isolation beds and 210 ICU beds in Visayas. We were also able to add 190 ICU beds and 306 isolation beds in Mindanao. And in Luzon po, we were able to add 755 ICU beds and 332 isolation beds. So sa ngayon po, atin pong patuloy na pinag-iigihan na ma-expand po natin ang facilities natin. Paalala na ang layunin na muling paghihigpit sa ibang mga lugar ay dahil nakakakita na po tayo ng pagtaas ng mga kaso at pinipigilan po nating ma-overwhelm ang ating healthcare system. Hinihigpitan po natin ang quarantine upang mapigilan ang pagkalat ng sakit at mapababa po ang bilang ng mga nagkakasakit. Transmission increases as more people go out and mix together. Nababalitaan din po natin ang sunod-sunod na violations sa ating public health protocols. Ayaw man po nating gawin ito, ngunit kailangan po nating limitahan ang paggalaw ng mga tao na dapat essential lang po ang pwedeng lumabas upang mapigilan po natin ang pagkakahawaan ng bawat isa. However, this will not stop the transmission. Hindi po ibig sabihin na pagkatapos ng ating mga enhanced community quarantine ay babalik na po tayo sa normal at hindi na maaring tumaas pa rin ang kaso. Especially, the Delta variant is more transmissible. Dapat manatili po tayong disiplinado. Patuloy po tayong umiwas sa pagtitipon or mass gathering na maaari pong magdulot ng pagkakahawa-hawaan. Sa minsan po nating pagiging kampante at hindi pagsunod sa ating public health protocols, ay ilalagay po natin ang ating sarili at ang ating mga mahal sa buhay sa panganib. Dapat na maging mas mabilis ang ating local government unit sa pagpigil ng pagkalat ng virus. Maaari itong gawin sa pamamagitan ng aktibong paghahanap ng mga kaso. Kailangan na po natin gawin ng active case finding, magbahay-bahay, i-quarantine agad o i-isolate ang mga tao na nakikita natin na may simptomas o di kaya ay may exposure.
Now, as of 4 p.m. Monday, the Department of Health reported a total of 1,605,762 cases with 1,515,054 recoveries and 28,093 deaths nationwide. Now, the total confirmed Delta variant cases in the country is 119. And ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Please stay tuned.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Iba't ibang sakuna at kalamidad ang nararanasan ng bansa. Kapag may banta ng panganib, kailangang maging alerto at kung kailangang lumikas ay magtungo sa ligtas na lugar. Bilang paghahanda sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, mahalaga na may gobag na dadalhin ang pamilya. Narito ang dapat na nilalaman ng gobag ng isang pamilyang handa. Mahalagang dokumento sa selyadong lalagyan, flashlight, kandila, posporo at silbato, radyo na may bago at ekstrang baterya, first aid kit kasama ang panlunas sa lagnat, LBM, sugat at iba pa. Ang mga gamot na regular na iniinom ng pamilya. Magagamit para sa mga sanggol, bata, matatanda at may kapansanan. Pera at mga barya. Pagkain na madaling ihanda, di na kailangang lutuin at sapat para sa 3 araw. Inuming tubig sa saradong lalagyan at sapat para sa 3 araw. Telepono, power bank at charger. Lubid, lumang dyaryo, matitibay na lalagyan, damit, kapote, bota at mga sanitary supplies, sleeping bag o banig at mga kumot. Suriin ang mga laman ng gobag kada 3 buwan at palitan ang mga laman nito na malapit ng masira. Ilagay ang gobag sa lugar na madali itong makita at makuha sa oras ng sakuna.
Welcome back. The United States top diplomat Antony Blinken meets virtually with Southeast Asian officials this week. President Joe Biden's administration is seeking to show the region is a priority while also addressing the crisis in Myanmar and the issue in the South China Sea. Here's Ned Price, the U.S. State Department spokesman. Let's listen in.
Secretary Blinken will participate this week in 5 virtual ministerial meetings related to ASEAN, or the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. These are the U.S. ASEAN, the East Asia Summit, the ASEAN Regional Forum, the Mekong-U.S. Partnership, and the Friends of the Mekong Ministerial Meetings. The Secretary participated in the special U.S. ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting on July 13th and reiterated the U.S. commitment to our strategic partnership with ASEAN and our strong support for ASEAN centrality. During this week's meetings, Secretary Blinken will underscore that commitment and reiterate U.S. positions on pressing regional issues, including calling on the Burmese junta to immediately end the violence and restore Burma to the path of democracy, supporting freedom of the seas in the South China Sea, improving resilience and transparency through the Mekong-U.S. partnership, and urging ASEAN members to fully implement UN Security Council resolutions on the DPRK. The Secretary will share with ASEAN our plans for additional support in the fight against COVID-19, including through sharing additional vaccine doses. He will also discuss our plans to support ASEAN's economic recovery and plans to combat climate change.
The United States said Monday that Myanmar's junta was playing for time with a 2-year election timeframe as Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepared to encourage ASEAN to appoint an envoy. Blinken is participating virtually in a week of talks involving foreign ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the latest bid by President Joe Biden's administration to engage a region at the front lines of U.S. competition with China. Ahead of the ASEAN talks, Myanmar's junta chief promised to hold elections and lift a state of emergency by August 2023, extending an initial timeline given when the military deposed elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi on February 1. The announcement is a call for ASEAN to have to step up its effort because it's clear that the Burmese junta is just stalling for time and wants to keep prolonging the calendar to its own advantage, said a senior U.S. official using Myanmar's former name of Burma. All the more reason why ASEAN has to engage on this and live up and uphold the terms of the 5-point consensus that Myanmar also signed up to. Junta Chief Min Aung attended a meeting with ASEAN members on the crisis in April that led to the so-called consensus statement that called for an immediate end to violence and a regional special envoy. But the junta leader later distanced himself from the statement. No envoy has been appointed and more than 900 people have been reported killed in the 6-month crackdown on dissent. ASEAN is not known for its collective diplomatic clout, and its meetings have frequently pitted the United States and China against each other as they seek influence.
Now, Myanmar's military seized power on February 1, ousting the civilian government and arresting its leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. More than 900 people have since been killed and thousands of others arrested after the violent suppression of mass protests against junta rule. Now, AFP TV meets two anti-junta activists who take part in flash mob protests and hope for the military to be overthrown. Take a look.
ကြောက်စိတ်ကတော့ရှိတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ကြောက်စိတ်တဲ့နောက်မှာနာကျင်ချက်တွေရှိတယ်။အဲ့ဒီနာကျင်ချက်တွေနဲ့ပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ဒေါ်လာရအရှိန်ဟိုတည်းမြင်လာတာဖြစ်တယ်။အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီဟာကိုနောက်ဆုတ်သွားလာမယ်နောက်ဆုတ်မသွားဘူး။ဒါပေမဲ့နောက်ဆုတ်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းကျွန်တော်တို့နောက်တလန်ဆုတ်တာရှိတယ်လန်တူဖြစ်ပါတယ်။အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီဒေါ်လာရရှိကိုရောက်လာတယ်။သူတို့ပူဖိနေလို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရှိကိုရောက်လာတာဖြစ်တယ်။ဒီလူလူတွေကတရားလုံးညီညွတ်လာတာနောက်ပြီးတော့ဒီ2008ချေဦးကိုဖျက်သိမ်းလိုက်နိုင်တာ ပြီးတော့ဒီစစ်တပ်ကိုဒီဖက်စစ်တပ်လို့ပေါ်တင်နေမြင်လာတဲ့အနေအထားမျိုးတွေကြုံလာရပြီပေါ့လေပြီးတော့ဒီဟာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီတိုက်ပွဲကိုဒီအဆုံးထိပဲအနိုင်တိုက်သွားမှာပဲဒီလက်ရှိကျွန်တော်တို့ခံစားနေရတဲ့အချက်တွေခက်ခဲတွေကြားရတဲ့လွတ်မြောက်နိုင်လိမ့်မယ်ပေါ့
6 months since the generals ended a decade-long experiment with democracy, large-scale protests are no longer the norm due to violent crackdowns and mass arrests. A deadly COVID surge, which has left staff and volunteers working in crematoriums and cemeteries overwhelmed with bodies, is also limiting turnouts. The World Bank forecasts on July 26 that Myanmar's economy will contract by 18% this year as a result of the coup and the coronavirus outbreak, with the poverty rate to double from 2019 levels by next year. In late July, the junta canceled the results of 2020 polls, claiming more than 11 million instances of voter fraud. On Sunday, 6 months to the day the military seized power, Junta Chief Min Aung said new elections will be held by August of 2023.
Germany dispatched a frigate to the Indo-Pacific region Monday for the first time in almost 20 years, a move that could put strain on Berlin's delicate relationship with Beijing. The Bayern sailed from Wilhelmshaven harbor with more than 200 soldiers on board for a 6-month mission to strengthen Germany's presence in the region that will take it to Singapore, South Korea, and Australia. Crucially, it will also pass through the South China Sea, a flashpoint of tensions between China, its neighbors in the region, and their Western allies, such as the United States. The message is clear. We are standing up for our values and interests together with our partners and allies, said Defense Minister Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer ahead of the ship's departure. For our partners in the Indo-Pacific, it is a reality that sea routes are no longer open and secure, and that claims to territory are being applied by the law of might is right, she added. Yet, Kramp-Karrenbauer insisted the mission was not directed against any particular country and noted that Germany had offered to visit a Chinese harbor in order to maintain dialogue.
In other news, a 5.9 magnitude quake struck off the coast of Indonesia's easternmost Papua region Monday. That according to the United States Geological Survey, but there was no tsunami warning or immediate reports of damage. The quake hit at a relatively shallow depth of 12 kilometers, about 180 kilometers northeast of Tual City. Shallow quakes tend to do more damage than deep tremors. Indonesia experiences frequent quakes due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intense seismic activity where tectonic plates collide that stretches from Japan through Southeast Asia and across the Pacific Basin. In January, more than 100 people were killed and thousands left homeless by a 6.2 magnitude quake that struck Sulawesi Island, reducing buildings to a tangled mass of twisted metal and chunks of concrete in the seaside city of Mamuju. A 7.5 magnitude quake, meanwhile, and a subsequent tsunami in Palu 3 years ago left more than 4,300 people dead or missing.
Rains of the southwest monsoon enhanced by Typhoon Fabian have devastated agricultural areas in the country and left 698.53 million pesos worth of damage, the Department of Agriculture said on Monday. Almost 26,194 farmers were affected, and the volume of production losses is at 14,175 metric tons of agricultural crops planted to 34,029 hectares in the Cordillera Administrative Region, or the CAR, Ilocos Region, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol Region, and Western Visayas. The DA, however, clarified there was a decrease in the total value of damage and losses for corn after they have conducted a validation in Calabarzon. The DA guaranteed that rehabilitation of affected areas will be facilitated from their Quick Response Fund. The affected farmers are also urged to avail of DA's Survival and Recovery Loan Program of the Agricultural Credit Policy Council. Funds from the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation for the farmers' indemnification are also being prepared for rollout. ASEAN in Focus will be back after a short break.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin, at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng binabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Tropical cyclone o bagyo. Ang bagyo ay isang uri ng lagay na panahon na nagdudulot ng malalakas at mabibilis na hangin at pag-ulan na maaaring maging sanhi ng matitinding pagbaha, daluyong ng dagat at pag-uho ng lupa. Narito ang mga dapat gawin bago dumating ang bagyo. Una, alamin ang balita ukol sa panahon at mga anunsyong pangkaligtasan. Alamin ang plano ng komunidad sa pagbibigay babala at paglikas. Suriin ang bahay at kumpunihin ang mga mahina at sirang bahagi. Ihanda ang go bag na naglalaman ng mga pangangailangan ng pamilya. Ilikas ang mga alagang hayop sa ligtas na lugar. Kapag inabisuhan ang kinauukulan, mabilis na lumikas sa itinakdang evacuation center. Narito naman ang mga dapat gawin habang may bagyo. Una, maging mahinahon. manatili sa loob ng bahay o evacuation center at makinig sa pinakabagong balita at taya ng panahon. Patayin ang main switch ng kuryente at valve ng tubig. Gumamit ng flashlight o emergency lamp. Maging maingat sa paggamit ng kandila o gasera. Umiwas sa mga salaming bintana. Ito naman ang dapat gawin pagkatapos ng bagyo. Hintayin ang abiso ng kinauukulan na ligtas ng bumalik sa tahanan. Umiwas sa mga natumbang puno, nasirang gusali at linya ng kuryente. Huwag gumala upang hindi maabala ang mga emergency services. Siguraduhing walang basa o nakababad na outlet o kagamitan bago buksan ang linya ng kuryente. Itapon ang mga naipong tubig sa lata, paso at gulong upang hindi pamahayan ng lamok.
Welcome back. The House of Representatives overwhelmingly approved on final reading a measure proposing to double the amount of social pension for senior citizens from the current 500 to 1,000 pesos. A total of 225 lawmakers voted in favor of House Bill 9459, which seeks to amend Republic Act 7432 by granting pension to all the elderlies and provide additional increase in the social pension of indigent senior citizens. No one voted against the measure or abstained from voting. The social pension refers to the monetary grant from the government to support the daily subsistence and medical needs of senior citizens, which shall amount to 1,000 pesos per month once the bill is enacted into law. Under the bill, the Department of Social Welfare and Development shall be tasked to review and, when necessary, increase the amount of social pension every 2 years after its enactment into law.
Digitalization and financial inclusion are the foundations of the new economy, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Jokno said, citing their benefits to more Filipinos.
Why finance digitalization? Financial technology makes transactions easier and faster, which in turn speeds up income. It also makes financial products and services accessible to a greater number of people, which in turn enhances financial inclusion. In October last year, the BSP launched the Digital Payments Transformation Roadmap. Our goal is to shift from a cash-heavy to a cash-light society, where at least half of financial transactions are done digitally. By 2023, our other goal is that at least 70% of adult population should have financial accounts.
The Philippine Identification System is also a plus to the financial inclusion bid since this will address the lack of identity documents, which is among the most common barriers to account opening, he said. These measures are expected to boost the economy's recovery and ensure the achievement of the central bank's financial inclusion and digitalization bid.
Staying in the country, the Duterte administration has accelerated its support for the development and growth of micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. That, according to the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez. At the opening of the National MSME Week 2021, Lopez recalled that when he was appointed by President Duterte to be the DTI chief, the chief executive said MSME is first in his list of priorities. Take a look.
This is not surprising. Even at the start of his term, President Duterte had always valued the efforts of our Filipino entrepreneurs. Our president has a big heart for the small entrepreneurs, especially the micro-entrepreneurs. Even yung mga nagtitinda po sa palengke, sa bangketa, lahat po yan ay kanya pong iniisip at inaalala kung paano pa matutulungan. He described them during his last week's State of the Nation address as being vital to economic activity, job creation, and poverty reduction. Naalala ko po tuloy na ito ang kanyang unang bilin sa akin nung magkausap kami noong sinabihan niya ako na maging DTI Secretary. It is the first on his list. Ang bilis din ng panahon at ngayon ay 5 taon na ang nakalipas. Masasabi natin na marami nang nangyari. Of course, nandiyan po yung mga major developments na nangyari tulad ng Marawi siege, to the now ongoing COVID-19 pandemic na tila hindi pa po tumitigil. Marami ang tinamaan ng epekto ng lockdowns. From a high of 40% ang nagsara last August 2020. At ito ay nag-improve. Bumaba po ang mga nagsara to 4% na lamang hanggang February of this year nung nasa GCQ tayo. But again, tumaas po itong figure na to 16% nung nag-ECQ last March because of a surge. The number quickly improved to around 8 to 10% as of this July. During the pandemic, we did a lot of digitalization of micro SME programs that will onboard them in e-commerce platforms and give exposure in a lot of DTI virtual trade fairs and expos. One is through the recent game-changing Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, more popularly known as CREATE Act, which lowered the tax rates to benefit micro SMEs. So, nilower ang tax rate from 30% to 20% for all. It can also offer incentives to the MSMEs as long as their activities are in the SIPP or yung Strategic Investment Priorities Plan. There is also the Philippine Innovation Act to harness innovation efforts to enable micro SMEs to be part of the domestic and global value chain.
Now, he also said some 996 negosyo centers have been established since 2016, bringing a total of 1,212 negosyo centers nationwide. Lopez added these negosyo centers have provided business assistance to 4.3 million clients, 2.1 million of which are MSMEs. Lopez also lauded former DTI Chief Gregory Domingo for establishing the Shared Service Facilities program, which provided equipment, tools, and knowledge to MSMEs that helped them become more competitive.
Marami nang nangyari. Of course, nandiyan po yung mga major
Online stockbrokers COL Financial Group expects the Philippine Stock Exchange Index, or PSEI, to end the year at 8,100, slightly lower than previously projected, supported by optimism for faster economic recovery and earnings growth. COL Chief Equity Strategies April Lintan said their forecast for PSEI has been reduced from 8,300 considering the lower earnings incurred by property companies as their mall operations are affected most by the implementation of Enhanced Community Quarantine, or ECQ. The National Capital Region will be placed under the most restrictive ECQ from August 6 to 20 to prevent the spread of the more infectious Delta coronavirus variant. This after the one implemented from May 17 to April 13, 2021 to stem the country's COVID-19 surge. We cut our earnings forecast and fair value estimates for the property companies given that they are part of a lot of the big holding companies that also dragged our fair value estimates. But an 8,100 target is still significantly higher from where we are today. That is why we keep on saying that the negatives are priced in, Tan said in a virtual press briefing Monday. She said companies are coping well with the pandemic, adding that almost all sectors except the property sector reported higher year-on-year earnings.
Meanwhile, some 127,000 workers will be affected by the strictest enhanced community quarantine classification that will be imposed in Metro Manila from August 6 to the 20th. That according to the Department of Labor and Employment, 100 to 20,000 was the figure in the NCR for workers undergoing flexible work arrangements and reduction of work days, according to DOLE Assistant Secretary Dominic Tutay in a media forum. Last week, President Duterte approved the recommendation to place the National Capital Region under ECQ to prevent the surge of COVID cases due to more infectious Delta variant. Tutay said over 300,000 workers will also be affected, including in other areas that were also placed under ECQ. Apart from Metro Manila, Iloilo Province, Senate City, Cagayan de Oro City, and the city of Gingog in Misamis Oriental have also been placed under ECQ from July 21 to August 7. On Sunday, Malacanang announced that the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases reclassified the quarantine classifications of Laguna, Aklan, and Apayao from GCQ to modified ECQ until August 15. Tutay, meanwhile, said the 300,000 does not include some 152,000 workers who have been displaced from January to July, as reported by establishments in Metro Manila. On top of that, the 152,987 who have been displaced since January 1 to July 30, she said. And he added that the figure is likely to increase by some 30,000 to 40,000 due to the impact of the pandemic to the economy. And ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Please stay tuned.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Impormasyong mahalaga sa taong bayan. Patas na pagbabalita. Papakinggan ang magkabilang panig. Lilinawin ang mga issue at kaagad na ihahatid ng objektibo. Mata ng Agila. Tumadagit ng pinakasariwang pangyayari, hindi lamang sa loob ng bansa, kundi sa iba't ibang panig ng daigdig. Mula sa Eagle News Teams at sa tulong ng makabagong teknolohiya, tiyak na makakalap kaagad ang katotohanan. Para sa mas matalas, malinaw at malalimang pagbabalita. Ito ang mas pinatalas na Mata ng Agila. Inihahatid ng veteranong broadcast journalist na si Eli Saludar. Kasama si Binibining Pilipinas Intercontinental 2019 Emma Tiglao. At pinangungunahan ng batikang mamamahayag ng bansa, Vic De Leon Lima. Mata ng Agila, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Carlos Yulo came tantalizingly close to a medal when he placed fourth in the men's vault finals following a total score of 14.716 in the Summer Olympic Games at the Ariake Gymnastics Center here on Monday. Yulo's 14.8664 in his second and last vault attempt, called Dragolescu, a handspring double front move with half turn, was even better than the 14.833 of eventual gold medalist Shin Jae-hwan, total of 14.783 of Korea. But the Filipino gymnast 14.566 in the first vault dragged his total score to 14.716 at fourth place. This was just a hairline short of the 14.733 total of bronze medalist Artur Davtyan of Armenia, who had scores of 14.8 and 14.666. Russian Denis Ablazin finished runner-up to the Korean with a total of 14.783. The Korean and the Russian posted matching average scores of 14.783 and a tie that was broken by the gymnast with the higher score of the two vaults before the average for the final score, giving the gold to Shin. Davtyan, who earned an average of 14.733, was also the winner of a tiebreak with the Yulo. Russian Nikita Nagorny, Yula's main rival in the floor exercise, only placed fifth with 14.716.
Meanwhile, Indonesian President Joko Widodo takes a video call with Olympic women's doubles gold winner Gracia Pollia and Ariani Rahayu to congratulate them after beating China's Chen Qinchen and Jia Yifan 21-19, 21-15 to pick up their country's first Olympic medal in women's doubles. Take a look.
Selamat atas keberhasilan mempertahankan tradisi emas Olimpiade bagi Indonesia. Saya betul-betul senang banget, bangga terhadap Grace dan Apri. Ya, selamat sekali lagi. Saya tunggu di istana nanti. Ada apa lagi waktu? Ya, makasih Pak. Jujur, ya.
Indonesia's Gracia Polli said her years of passion and commitment had been rewarded after earning badminton redemption with Olympic women's double gold on Monday. The 33-year-old veteran and partner, Apriani Rahayu, beat China's Chen Qinchen and Jia Yifan 21-19, 21-15, and they pick up their country's first Olympic medal in the women's doubles. It was also Indonesia's first gold of the Tokyo Games. The win marked an increased turnaround for Polly, who was ready to quit the sport 5 years ago.
ASEAN and FIFA has launched #ReachOut, a campaign designed to raise awareness of the symptoms of mental health conditions and encourage people to seek help when they need it and take actions every day for better mental health. With the support of past and current football players, the World Health Organization, and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, FIFA is underlining the importance of greater awareness around mental health. Here's Neil Etheridge, Philippines goalkeeper.
Hi, I'm Neil Etheridge of the Philippines and Birmingham City Football Club. There are things we, ASEAN people, can do to look after our mental health. Talk about your feelings, keep active, eat well, do something you love doing, accept and love who you are. None of us are superhuman. If things are getting too much, ask for support from your friends, family, even professional help. #ReachOut.
And as always, thank you, Eliana, for keeping me company today here on ASEAN in Focus.
Thank you, Alma. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.